Welcome to Thursday night, if you're in the West Coast of the United States or the East Coast, I guess. Where is it not Thursday night? I guess it could be Friday morning for people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited that you chose to come here tonight and work on your confidence level because the world pushes against that all day long. And so we need to be actively and intentionally working on our confidence. Because I don't know if you've noticed. In fact, I looked up some statistics and according to the National Institute of Mental Health, they said that the statistics are now post 2020, because they keep increasing, that let me phrase it this way. They have three levels of anxiety at the National Institute of Health, of Mental Health. NIMH, National Institute of Mental Health. And they talk about how there is low grade anxiety, high grade anxiety, and then anxiety disorder. So it's three levels of anxiety. And they said that it in 2020 alone, the numbers of anxiety increased by 25%, and they keep increasing. So now in our world, according to them, the 1 in 3 adults are going to experience an anxiety disorder at some point in their adulthood. And also, 1 in 3 teenagers currently are experiencing an anxiety disorder. That is a lot of teenagers. That's just the 11 to 17-year-olds, you guys. And so, our world, this is a golden opportunity problem, if you will, in our world, which is anxiety. And not to sugarcoat it, not to coddle people out of anxiety, but I'm here tonight to show you how to respond to situations in a way that shifts you from anxiety to confidence. Because if you think about it, anxiety is a nervous system state. We talked about this last 2 weeks ago in our webinar. So I'm just, by a show of hands, how many of you saw the 2026 software update webinar that I did on January 3rd? Raise your hand for me. Oh, where's my raise the hand? Here we go. All right, cool. Because that's my way of helping you guys find your raise the hand button and also for me to find it. There we go. Okay, so now we'll lower all those hands. If you did not see this webinar, raise your hand for me. If you did not see it, raise your hand so I'm aware of what kind of language I need to use. Some of you are not voting. That's fine. That's so fine. Okay, but I'm seeing that so far a majority of people did not see it. That's fine. Two things. If you'll remind me at the end of the webinar, I will give you a replay link. It is no longer a public webinar, but I will give you a replay link because you're here tonight if you want to be able to watch the webinar from 2 weeks ago. Is that fair? So if you want it, tell me in the chat, say me, I want it. So I know if there's enough people, then I will make that available to people. Excellent. Okay, and you can reserve judgment. Maybe I cover enough tonight and you don't want that webinar. Totally fine. I have no problem either way. All right, cool. Excellent. Okay, so in this webinar, I will do a quick recap of what we talked about so you don't have to worry about being behind or anything like that. I'm going to give you a quick recap of what we talked about so you're caught up because we need to understand that anxiety is a nervous system state. So here's what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Before 2025, some interesting things happened in our world in 2025. And before 2025, the volume and speed that information came at us was slowly increasing. It was increasing like this, okay? And our alerts that we had on our smartphone or our computer, they were generalized. They were like people threw alerts out there and commercials, but they weren't personalized. But in 2020 or in 2025, we had the advent of widespread use of AI, right? We're all aware of that the world changed. It shifted in 2025. But before that, our skills for being able to cope with what was going on in our world were also increasing. Post AI adoption, I'll say it that way, because AI has been, large language models have been around for a long, long time, not just last year. But before this widespread adoption, this is how things were going. Post widespread adoption, now the volume and speed of what comes at you is exponentially increased. In fact, studies used to show that somebody's attention span online was, it started out, it was greater than 10 seconds. People would watch something for 10 seconds. Then it went down to 7 seconds. Now they're saying that somebody's attention span online is 3 seconds. That means people are changing their attention focus every 3 seconds. You guys, that's a lot. Some of you are probably watching me and doing something else at the same time. Maybe you're watching two different screens at once. I know I look at my boys and they'll have three screens and they'll have something going different on each screen. Even my husband will do that now. It's very bred into our human experience now is to have lots and lots of input. So much input that sometimes we don't even realize the magnitude of it or the influence that it's having on us. Okay. So I used neuroscience to explain why oh, I didn't finish this. So the personalization of the alerts with AI have gone way up because they can track everything that we look at. Not, it used to be they would track what we click. Now they track what we look at. They track what we say. They track the kinds of things we look at. It becomes personalized. And our ability to cope with it, the skills are going down. So we need to know how to change our interaction with our world so that we can match the speed and personalization of what's coming at us. So I used neuroscience to explain this a couple of weeks ago. I keep wanting to say last month, but it was only a week and a half ago on Saturday. And so this right here, this is an electrical signal inside of one of your neurons in your brain. So here is a picture of a neuron that I had AI generate for us, okay? So this is a neuron, and down the neuron will receive a signal from another neuron up here, and that signal will come to the center of the neuron, and then it will send that signal down the to the next neuron. And as it sends the signal down here, it does it with an electrical pulse. And that looks like this, okay? No, don't worry, there's no quiz on this, but I just want you to understand where this picture comes from. In neuroscience, this is called an action potential. That's an action potential. And we can learn a lot. As a body language expert, I have learned to use my body to understand my world better. So, for example, our body has to breathe in and out. Our heartbeat has an on and an off. We need to be able to go through an up and a down. We need to be able to go through cycles. Even the electrical impulses in our brain are going through an up and a down, an up and a down. We are awake, we go to sleep. There's all kinds of ups and down cycles that we go through in life. Does that make sense? So, this right here is teaching us something about how we manage stressors in our life. So, how we manage a stressor is we start this, I labeled this as relaxation and calm, but this can just be our default state. Our default state, we're going along in this default state, and something will trigger us. Something will trigger us. Maybe I was reading what you guys were saying you did to build confidence, and some people talked about having hard conversations with people. Or maybe traffic can trigger us. In fact, in the chat, tell me something that triggers you in your life. Maybe it can be seeing a sink full of dirty dishes. Maybe it can be having your kids come home from school and they relate a story about how somebody at school was mean to them. Or maybe it's something will trigger you in traffic when somebody cuts you off. Or maybe a trigger can be as simple as you're hungry and it's like, whoa, some people that's really tricky, really triggering. I like that one. Terry says technology problems, loud noises, my house not being organized, loose dogs while out walking your dog, right? There are all kinds of things that can trigger us. And what our system is designed to do is to take that trigger, have a response where our heart rate goes up, our anxiety goes up, our breathing increases. We are having a fight or flight or freeze kind of a response. Once we get past that stressor, we're meant to have a de-escalation. And in that de-escalation, we come down off of our expenditure of energy to a place of a short-term depletion. So it took energy to go up this cycle and to come back down, and we go through a little bit of a depletion, but then we come back to our default state, whatever that default state was, whatever level, whatever level of activation that state is. The problem is, in our world, we end up in a state of partial activation all day long. Because what happens is, I'll have a trigger, and maybe the trigger isn't even something in my environment. Maybe it's just something I'm watching online. Because the algorithms are purposefully designed to keep us in a state of agitation. Because as long as we're in a little bit of a state of agitation, it keeps us hooked to what we're watching. Okay. So maybe I get on short form video has become extremely prevalent. It increased exponentially in the year 2025. And so what'll happen is we'll watch a video, and this is one of the places where they watch our attention span, and we'll watch it for 3 seconds, and then we'll move to the next one. But in that 3 seconds, I might have had my adrenaline triggered. So maybe I watch a video that there's something um, that disturbs me. Maybe it's violence, and that starts to trigger me. So I swipe away from it. And the next thing is somebody that looks just like a kid that I liked when I was that I had a crush on when I was in junior high. And so that triggers me a different way. And then maybe I go to the next video and I go through this gamut of different emotions just watching these short videos. And I swipe away to try to escape the emotion or the triggering that happened. Okay? So now I get a trigger, I try to escape from it, but I escape from it by going to the next trigger. I don't ever complete any of the triggers. There's nothing to fight. In our world, it's like we'll go into a fight, desire to fight, and we have no way to fight because it was something we watched online instead of something that we can actually do something about. Or so does that make sense? To not go take too much time on this recap, I just want you to understand we end up in a state of partial activation for much of our waking hours, which bleeds into our sleeping hours. So now instead of going completely through the pattern that we are wired for, we stay in this trigger escape reaction, trigger escape. And this is really what anxiety feels like. Okay? So most people in our world now experience anxiety that they would label as more than mild on a daily basis. So in the chat, if you've felt more than mild anxiety this week, put a 1 in the chat. I just want people to see, I want people to be able to see that lots of us are experiencing anxiety in our world. So mild anxiety would be just something like, oh, I'm hungry, I guess I better go eat. If it's more than the mild, just get yourself moving kind of anxiety, then put that 1 in the chat. So look at all those ones going by. Because we, in our world, and when I say in our world, I just mean in the place that I live in 2026 on planet Earth, the way technology is, the way things are coming at me, this is my world. This is where I live. My computer is part of my world. My phone is part of my world. The people I live with are part of my world. My neighbors are part of my world. In your world, there is a lot of anxiety triggers. And because of that, our nervous system tips into a state of anxiety instead of into a state that I would call the opposite of anxiety, which, if you read the emails that I sent out, there's lots of things we might be tempted to call the opposite of anxiety. We might call it calm or peace or, well, let me ask you, what would you call the opposite of anxiety? Would you call it, what would you call it? Hmm. Well, I asked myself that same question and I didn't have a good answer. So I went researching through neuroscience to try to figure it out. And this is where I've come, is that I am calling the opposite of anxiety confidence. There you go. Clarity, calm, peace, stillness, centeredness. But the reality is, all of those things that we're wanting, look, we're calling the opposite of anxiety peace, stillness, certainty, calm, centered, not having a racing mind. All of those things that we're calling it, those are not things that we experience in the moment that we have to deal with something. So, does that mean I have to be anxious in the moment that I have to take action? Because certainty, calmness, peace, stillness, grounded contentment, those are not very action feelings. So there has to be somewhere else that that my nervous system can be where I can still take action. Because when I'm driving, if a deer runs out in front of me, I have to take action. I have to. But does that mean I have to either be in anxiety or I have to be in calmness? No, there's a middle ground because this is one of the things that long-term stuckness in anxiety. One of the things that I notice it does to people, it puts us very much in all or nothing thinking. Things are either perfect or terrible, one or the other. And I hear that language in my mentoring appointments all the time that they'll say, "Oh, this was just awful," or "This was just terrible." The language of the middle ground is disappearing. People are very polarized. It's either this way or this way. You'll see that out, you'll see it online, you'll see it in driving, you'll see it talking to people. You see it in work environments. Nowadays, people are, if they're, or dating, oh my goodness, don't get me started there. But not that I'm dating, but I have 420 something boys that are all dating. And so what happens in the workplace is nowadays people are like, if they don't like what's going on in the workplace, they just quit. It's just all or nothing. You don't work through it anymore. You just leave. There's not this middle ground. Do you follow me on that? The same in dating is happening. It's like on the first date, if there's not this connection, it's like, no, I'm not going to give it a second chance. No, it's an all or nothing mentality. And the problem with all or nothing mentality is and that belief that it's this or this, is we miss the value and the experience and the growth and the learning and everything that we benefit from in the middle ground. The middle ground is where we grow. It's where we learn. It's where we develop capacity. Because as long as we're in an all or nothing, we actually tighten down our nervous system into a very narrow range. And if we exit that nervous system range, we go into anxiety. So our ability to find the peace or the calm or the clarity shrinks because it's such a tight fit to get in there. So in order to be able to navigate your world, no matter when we lived on this planet, if we lived in 1480 or we lived in the future or we live right now, one of the things we need is more ability, more capacity to function in our own nervous system. So if you're polarized, probably not you, but maybe you know somebody who's very polarized, that it's either things are great or things are falling apart. The middle ground is disappearing. So tell me in the chat, Put a two in the chat. If you know somebody that is in this polarized state, that it's either everything's great or everything's falling apart, right? Yeah, I tried to diffuse what made me so angry. Yeah, we know people like that. Not you, though, right? Not you. But we're talking about other people because this is easier to see inside of other people. And so, to be able to have confidence be part of our nervous system state, we need to understand the problem that's keeping us in anxiety. And then we need to understand steps that we can take to have more confidence. So, if more confidence is something that you want, if you want, because let's look at this right here. So, anxiety, if our nervous system is tuned to anxiety, then we will perceive things as threats. And I'll explain why we do this, but we will perceive things as threats. And often they are false danger signals. Because if your nervous system is tight, if it's more flexible, it's bigger and you have more room to move inside of it, that actually feels safer. But when our nervous system is tight down, then everything outside of this narrow piece of calm and clarity feels like false danger. So we live in a state of false danger. Confidence, on the other hand, will perceive things as safety, not that they're safe, but that we're safe as we encounter them. Because this is one of the problems that our 20-somethings and our teenagers have, is the world has created a narrative that says that people on a whole are dangerous, especially people you don't know. So when I was a kid, there was stranger danger. Now it's other people danger. It's not just people that look like strangers that could be scary. It's everyone. It's everyone, even your neighbors. Like I was talking to my daughter. I think she's lived in her townhome that she bought, 4 years now, and she does not know the names of her neighbors. And I'm like, this is crazy. How can you not know your neighbors? Whenever I would move into a new place, that's one of the first things I would want to do is meet my neighbors because you're actually safer if the people around you know who you are, because then they see you as somebody that's friendly, so they will want to defend you and take care of you. There's all kinds of scientific studies that have been done on that. Um, One of my favorites is, I'll just go on this quick tangent, is um, they went to a beach and they had this guy that he would go to the beach and he would set up his towel and then he would leave something valuable on his towel and he would walk away. And then they would have another person that would come across along the beach and they would go to steal what was on the towel. And the only thing they changed in the study was the guy either would go and he would introduce himself or he would say hi to the people around him. Just little small talk. He'd be like, hi, hey, how's the water today? Um, what's the UV rating? Could I borrow your sunscreen? That kind of thing. And then he would walk away. And if he had interacted with the people around him, when somebody came to steal what was on his towel, people would defend it. They would say, hey, wait, that's not yours. But if the guy hadn't said hi to the people around him, they just looked and went, okay, whatever. So that was such a fascinating experiment to read about. But that is an evidence of why our anxiety is up in the world, is because we don't even know who our neighbors are. It's not safe. We've labeled it as unsafe to introduce ourselves to our neighbors. And you guys, anybody that's my age or older, we knew a world that wasn't like that. So the contrast is interesting to us. The ones that are younger that are growing up in this, they don't know anything different. So my kids and younger, so anyone under 30 years old, they don't know the difference the same. So they don't understand. They need to academically learn how to grow their confidence level. And this is one of the reasons why Anxiety is like at an epidemic level, but the thing that actually tops anxiety for mental health, do anybody know what it is? It's really sad. The thing that tops anxiety and depression is loneliness. Loneliness. So the effect that this is having on our planet to be living in this tight nervous system state is loneliness. And that's really sad. It's really hard. So what we want to be able to do is train our nervous system not to stay in the tight, the fight, flight, freeze, retreat, fawn, people please, all of these things. We want to be able to be in a place of approach, act, engage, resolve, take action, be able to move forward. So, if that's something that you want, if you want more confidence in your life, if you want to be able to grow your capacity of your nervous system, raise your hand for me so I know I'm talking to the right group of people tonight. Because I've been, and then I have to decide how personal to get tonight because as I've been working on this, oh my goodness, I came face to face with my own demon yesterday. And so I've spent the last 24 hours um, growing my nervous system because I found one of the things that was keeping me small. So we might go personal. Are you still okay with it? Just letting you know up front, I might be kind of personal tonight. Don't worry, it's all still rated G, but we're going to go a little bit personal. And I'll probably cry. So I've got my tissues right here. Okay, so take a screenshot of this so that you have it because you need to understand the difference is not the situation. The difference is the nervous system state. Confidence, anxiety are not personality traits. They are opposing physiological states. And I don't actually, I wish I could change that word now. They are opposing nervous system states, right? So we want to be able to understand what to do about this. So to do that, um, so do you want the deep level or the shallow level? Let me just see who I see on here. Hello, all you people. I'm so glad to see Jeannie and Rebecca and Terry and Deb and Luce, Lacey and Karen. Hello, I'm just checking all the people that are here. Craig is here, Terry is here, Tanya's here, Tammy, Joanne and Craig, Suzanne. Welcome. I'm so glad to see everybody. I'm glad you're here. And I'm seeing a lot of deep. Okay, so grab your snorkels and let's look at the deep then. So we also used this diagram 2 weeks ago. So what I'm explaining here is this, that the way our triggers happen, so we have lots of triggers that are personalized to us. When we are watching the internet, the algorithm learns us. Even if you use ChatGPT, I actually had an argument with ChatGPT a couple of times this week because I said I should have saved it so I could read it to you, but I will summarize it. So what happened was I I kept telling ChatGPT something that I was interested in learning more about. And ChatGPT kept coming back and saying, "No, no, 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 no. You need to do this instead." And I finally said, "Why do you keep steering me this direction?" And he finally confided, because my ChatGPT is a he finally confided that if I don't give the correct prompt, that ChatGPT has a program that causes it to err towards I don't remember what his words were, but that was basically to err towards keeping me at a superficial level. And I was like, wow, isn't that interesting? And because I said, hey, I don't like this theme that I'm seeing. And he goes, well, you're right. That theme is going on, and here's why it's going on. And then I had him teach me how to change that. But the point is, um, The algorithms learn us, even the AI ones, they learn us, and then they match what we're used to. They match what they were used to and then help us stay in the rut that we're used to. So here's my AI rut. And that rut that we're used to is our nervous system default. It's something that's so familiar and it feels super comfortable. So one of the things that we have to understand is our subconscious is where our responses originate. They don't originate in our emotions. We might think that's the first place that we notice them, but they don't originate there. What happens is, so here's the deep dive, because you guys said deep dive. So here's the deep dive. Our subconscious, when we first notice something, before we can consciously notice what is going on, the trigger has gone through our subconscious, our physical body, and our emotions before we ever see it. Before our prefrontal cortex comes online and we're aware of it, it's already passed through these three levels. So, what's going on is our subconscious takes our past programming, our past coping, what we have used to cope with our world. So if you guys have if any of you followed me for very long, in October 2024, I did a webinar on emotional coping styles. And so you know what I'm talking about when I talk about coping. We have coping that we adopted from a very young age. And this coping and these programs and our past experiences are whatever the thing is that's outside of us, the trigger. Before we ever see it, our subconscious has made a prediction about what it will mean about us. You might want to write this down. If you're going to take any notes, I would write this right here. Your subconscious is making a prediction about how it will feel and how it will affect us and what the outcome will be based on our past experiences, our programming, and our coping mechanisms. Based on that prediction, it then passes messages that our subconscious passes messages to our physical body, and we have a physical response for preparation for the outcome that was predicted. Okay, I want to say that one more time. We haven't even consciously noticed this yet, but the trigger has come up. Our subconscious has made a prediction, and our body is preparing according to that prediction. Now, third thing we do is have an emotional response. The emotion is not first, it's third. And the reason for the emotional response is to give purpose, or you can call this meaning or story. It's giving a narrative. It's giving a narrative to the preparation and the prediction that happened. Okay? Now it comes to conscious mind. After it's gone through all these steps, it comes to conscious mind. And now, when it comes to conscious mind, we think that it started here. We think that it started in the front of our brain, but it didn't start there. It started in our limbic system. It started first in our hippocampus, and then it went into our limbic system. And after our body and it went down our nervous system. After it's gone through all of those, then it comes into our prefrontal cortex where we're aware of what happens. The thing is, what we're meant to do is make a choice. When it gets to our conscious mind, we're meant to make a choice about what we're noticing, about what we're feeling, about the response that we're having, and we're supposed to take an action. But the problem is, this is where the size or the tightness of our nervous system plays a role. If my nervous system is very tight, when it makes it to my conscious mind, The easiest, safest thing that my nervous system thinks I can do is take the label of a danger and a threat and protect myself with I'll either avoid the situation or I'll freeze or I'll retreat, I'll hide, or I will fight. But my body's gotten ready for that. The easiest thing to do at this point is to do the same thing I've always done. It's to, so if I feel all of these things, they just happened right here. If I feel all of those things, the easiest thing is to plan for the worst and go into looping thinking about what the worst thing is that could happen. So, where are my looping thinkers? Because I know there's a lot of us here, and we just sit and loop in that thinking. So, let's grab my loop here. So now I stay in a looped state, right? I'm staying in a loop in my thinking because I'm not questioning any of this that just happened. I'm not questioning it. Instead, I just think through the worst case scenario. And that keeps my nervous system tight. It keeps it tight. Well, I don't want it tight. I want it to be flexible. I want to be able to be, we call this resiliency. I want it to be able to be flexible, to move. Because think about it. If you're driving your car down the road and it's foggy out and you can't see very far, that doesn't feel very safe. We can move more, we can move faster when we can see more. But if our nervous system is tight, we can't see very far. We stay in the default and we repeat the pattern over and over, and it makes our nervous system tighter and tighter. And that makes us more and more susceptible to anxiety. So if you want more anxiety, do the same thing you've always done over and over and over again, and you will get more anxiety. That is a recipe for anxiety. So what I want to be able to do is change, because if I have a choice here, if at the conscious level is where choice is, I want to be able to choose a different path. But most of us don't know how to do something different than the looping thinking and the anxiety. But if I can understand this at a different level, so let's change let me push all the buttons so I can get to, there we go. So if I can change my response, I will develop a nervous system that has room for confidence. So confidence happens when I move down this other side. So let's borrow my anxiety and my confidence, and let's move to this slide. So right here, what we have going on is if I stay on this side and keep looping through everything, I'll have more anxiety. If I can move myself back down through these levels, I will improve my nervous system's tone. I will tone my nervous system. You know, like when you go to the gym and you improve your muscle tone, you can improve your nervous system tone. And it will, by association, increase my confidence. So I want to be able to move down this other side. So I want to see what you know. What is something that can calm your nervous system when you are in an agitated state? Let's see what you guys know so we can build on it. What is one thing? Yeah, that was the answer I was expecting. Almost everybody. Breathing, 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 breathing. Yes, breathing is a big deal because when we plan for the worst, that's one of the things that I watch in body language all the time is people stop breathing. They don't even realize it. They just hold their breath. Or they'll breathe very, very shallow and they'll breathe just in the top 20% of their lungs. So if we can, so one of the quick ways to interrupt this anxiety loop is to take a deep breath. Absolutely. That's a really good one. Um, on here, what I talked about on the webinar last week is having some default statements because breathing is right here between the emotion and the physical response. That's where breathing lands to be able to help with our nervous system. So another thing that can help is to have a directive, a self-directive statement. I suggest that they're 5 words or less, that they are very short statements. Because if they're too long, if you've got to look them up in your notebook or on your phone, or you're going to try to repeat a couple of sentences, it's too much. Your nervous system doesn't wait for logic. So you need a short self-directive statement. So it can be something like, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm actually okay. That's one of mine. I'll say that. I'm okay. I'm okay. And then I'll take the breath with it. I'm actually okay. Because remember, a lot of what's going on in our nervous system response is the trigger that came from the past, the programming, or the coping. And so it's at my very um, reptilian levels in my brain is where that programming is coming from. So I want to be able to have a statement like that. So, right. So, like Suzanne says, I'm safe. But sometimes maybe I'm not safe. Maybe I'm driving and somebody cuts me off. That doesn't feel safe. So I want to use a statement, and sometimes I'll say I'm safe, but sometimes I need to be able to just say I'm okay, because that's a an adaptable statement to be able to say I'm okay. I'm okay. Just so that I can stop, I can interrupt the loop, right? So then I do want to check in with my safety, like Suzanne said, because safety, I need to check in, am I actually in danger? Or is this a perception? Because I hear this a lot. Somebody will say, oh, I'm afraid to talk to them because they're going to yell at me. And if I question them and I'm like, okay, what does yelling mean? Oh, well, they're going to say something that they're upset with. So they're not actually yelling, they're not raising their voice. No. And sometimes they are, but being able to pause and actually look through the scenario and go, am I actually in danger? Well, no, I'm actually safe. Then I can use that statement. I'm safe. I'm okay. But this happens in milliseconds. This response happens so fast. We don't even have time to think about it. It's milliseconds. And so this response over here has to be quick. It doesn't have to be milliseconds, but it can't take a long time. So let me give you, so safety matters. And then being able to slow down, if I can just slow down. So if you're talking to somebody that's upset, instead of just listening to them, instead of just letting them talk or instead of fighting back, if you can slow it down, and the way you do this is a little tangent, but I think this will benefit somebody here. Instead of defending yourself to what they're saying, slow it down and you can say that, let's slow this down a little. Can you explain what's actually important to you? So say a statement like that. So you're not defending yourself. Because as soon as you go into defending yourself, and this is a whole nother level we could talk about, but this looping, we actually will engage other people in this loop. And it happens by we will blame somebody or we will defend ourselves. Blame and defense causes a looping that's similar to our own personal looping. Okay. So that's beyond the scope of this webinar, but I just need you to know that that happens all the time. You'll see it driving down the freeway. One person will cut this person off, so this person gets angry, and now they're fighting driving down the freeway. Am I the only one that's seen that? You'll see them like, and then they start going way too fast and they try to cut each other off and get in front of each other. And it's just like, oh my goodness, that's dangerous. But they are causing their looping is happening between them and somebody else, not just inside of themselves. Okay. So I want to interrupt my thinking by having a short self-directed statement. I'm okay. I'm actually okay. And then I want to have a safety check. I want to check in at my safety level. Um, so I'll just call it that. Safety check-in. And then I want to slow it down. I want to take that deep breath. Maybe I need to slow the conversation down and just say, okay, let's slow this down a little. Can you explain to me what is the most important thing to you here? A statement like that helps to interrupt the looping that's going on. Because when we feel safe, we can take a lot more action. So let me just show you. So here's me. This is the picture I put in the emails. If you guys were watching, if you guys read the emails. So at this, I went to this rock climbing gym and for my son's birthday. And the most interesting thing to me was that if you look at any of these walls, they are not something you would climb. You wouldn't go up them. In fact, if our kids tried to climb up them, we'd be like, no, 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 that's not safe. But as soon as you put a safety tether on everybody, now they're like, oh, you know what? I can climb this. But the thing is, that was fascinating was not that, okay, they feel safe and so now they can do it. It was the fact that I think we had a 90-minute window that we were there. I didn't see anybody fall. Nobody fell. They didn't fall. We have more capability than our nervous system wants to let us think we do. So here you get to watch me go up this. So I'm holding the tether, but it is not holding me up. It's slack. It's slack. It's not holding me there. It's not pulling me up. So I'm doing all of this climbing by myself. And mostly the reason I'm holding it is to keep it out of my face because it wanted to go right in front of my face. So I'm pulling it to the side. And this was in Salt Lake City is where this one was. But I'm doing all the climbing myself. And I watched dozens of kids go up. This tallest tube is probably, I don't know, 20, 25 feet. I watched lots of kids go up this and not one of them fell off. So our belief that things are dangerous is mostly manufactured by a stiff nervous system. So there I am at the top, and then I get to jump off. And you have to go about 3 feet before the tether kicks in and catches you. So that's an act of faith too, right there, is the jumping off part. But it is such an I guess I'd call it a good analogy for our nervous system because when I can calm the safety fail-safe in my nervous system, I actually expand my state. I expand my nervous system state. Okay? So do you follow me on this so far, you guys? The big thing is, yeah, let's go here. This is where we'll go to a more personal level. Yeah. So this is where most people stop when it comes to their nervous systems, is they do the breathing or they calm themselves down, but they don't ever look at what is actually tightening their nervous system. And so people will live in a tight nervous system state. As a body language expert, I watch this in people all the time. You'll see people who they live with their shoulders too close to their ears because they're so used to holding on. This is where we tighten things right here, or your butt cheeks. We tighten those, or or people go in for massages all the time, mostly because they've forgotten how to relax their muscles. And so last week, that's fair. Last week in the webinar, I gave examples that I don't have in this slide deck of things that you can do to calm your nervous system. So you can go watch those in the webinar replay. But what I want to talk about here is a deeper level than what we talked about last week. And that is that what's really going on at this subconscious level. So if you're ready for the next level, take a deep breath for me and in the chat put ready. Put ready so that we can go into this next part down here. Because did you notice right here? Let's rewind this. What did I do right before I went to the tallest one right here? So watch what I do. So look right here. Watch what I do. There's the deep breath. And did you see me look up to the side? That was me saying my interrupt statement. So right there, you watched me do my self-directive. I checked in with myself and I said, I'm actually safe. I actually said that up there. And then I took a deep breath and I slowly went to the next step. So you got to see all of it right there. So I didn't know that that this was going to happen. But when I watched this video, I was like, oh, there it is right there. So I took the deep breath. When people are telling themselves something, they often will move their eyes. So you saw me look up to the right. That's what I was doing. I was doing my self-directives. I was doing my safety check-in, and I did my breathing. I did it all right there. But why do people let themselves stay in a tight nervous system? It's the programming at this bottom level. Because what these past experiences have done, and the programs and the coping, what they've done for us is they have created believed lies. We have lies that we believe. And this is where it gets crazy, is because these believed lies, we think when we hear the word lie, we have negative connotations about that. It's like, oh, it's a lie. Of course it's bad. So when we're looking for a believed lie, we're looking for something that's negative. We call them false beliefs. We call them programming. We call them lies. And so we end up looking for something that's bad. But the problem is, a lot of these lies that we believe look fluffy and safe and innocent. They look like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because on the inside, what's really going on? So let's watch this one right here that my husband found for me. Look at this. Okay, let's watch it one more time. So that totally looks like a sheep laying there on the ground. But there's totally a dog underneath it. And it's like, oh my goodness. That's what our believed lies are. Our believed lies are really wolves in sheep's clothing. And they are crazy sneaky. And this is what happened to me yesterday is I found one of my own believed lies. And it's at a deeper level than I've ever found in myself before. And it's kind of rocked my world. Because the thing is, when you actually release your grip on a lie, it leaves room for truth to come in. But new truth does not feel stable at first. When it's a new truth, because just think about when when was it? In the 1400s, they still believed that the world was flat. They still believed that they had charted the whole world and Columbus hadn't even found a whole nother continent yet. or whoever we want to give credit to there. Um, and we hadn't even learned that the earth revolves around the sun. New truths don't feel stable. They don't. And old lies don't feel dangerous. Okay. So you might write that down or type it in the chat. New truths don't feel stable and old lies don't feel dangerous. And so this is what we're up against is the world is programming us with new lies, which is so somebody put that in the chat for me. New old lies don't feel dangerous. They don't. So I want you guys to be able to look at those words. So either write them down or type them in the chat because old lies don't feel dangerous and new truths don't feel stable. So for the last 24 hours, I have felt unstable. I have felt ungrounded. I have felt my nervous system have to get used to a new state. But the coolest thing about it is I can feel that it's bigger. I can totally feel it. So let me tell you my lie that I found. And so that you can see how innocent it sounded. Okay? So I'll give you, yeah. So what would be an example of a lie? So let me tell you my lie that I found. And this lie, I can feel it. Well, I'll explain that. So the lie was simply this, that I need to help people not feel lonely. Doesn't that sound innocent? Doesn't that sound innocent? Because it does sound innocent because that's a good thing. That's an empathetic thing to do. Is yeah, it sounds noble. Thank you, Craig. That's a good word for it. I couldn't find that one. Thank you. It does. It sounds noble. But the problem is when I started looking through how that felt in my nervous system, I believed that it was my job to give up everything about me if somebody felt lonely. That it was my job to make sure that everybody didn't feel lonely. I don't have that capability. I can't make everybody not feel lonely. Now, this does not mean that if somebody is lonely and I can do something about it, I can't do anything about it. That this is where the wolf in sheep's clothing. This is tricky to unravel. And this is why a lot of people will go back into their old rut, holding on to their belief because they don't understand how to unwind it. And so I've gone back and forth on this because this is like graduate level to talk about what I've had to do in me to tease this apart. But I feel like it's beneficial for you guys to hear it. And you said deep at the beginning, so let's go here a little bit. So this belief that it's my job to make sure that everyone feels that no one feels lonely. That I'll just get my notes out here from it. Oh, I wrote them in my phone because I did not have my. It's my job to make sure people are not lonely. Now, the problem with that is at first glance, when I tried to peel that off, what we do, remember I talked about how our nervous systems are being trained into all or nothing thinking? Well, all or nothing would say, well, if it's not my job to make sure that they feel lonely, then I just let everybody feel lonely. We love to tilt, to swing the pendulum all the way from one side to the other instead of looking at the middle ground. Remember, I said half an hour ago that the most important growth place is that middle ground. And so I've seen this program before, but I have not been able to change it or pull the sliver out, if you will, because I couldn't tease out the middle ground. Because I'm like you, I'm not going to go from it's my job to make sure people aren't lonely to I don't care if people are lonely. I'm not going to go to the other end. So what I had to tease out in there um, was that I had a secondary belief that was gluing that belief in place. And the secondary belief I hadn't been able to find before. And the secondary belief that was attached to that was that if I let go of that false belief and somebody suffers, their suffering is now my fault. So that that first one, that it's my job to make sure that people are not lonely, was glued in place by a belief that if I let go of this belief and somebody suffers because of it, their suffering is my fault. And so this has been a tricky one to tease apart. So let me explain it this way. We only need about 2 more hours of webinar tonight to go through this whole thing, but I'm going to explain it this way. What I realized was that I was doing things to help people not feel bad so that I wouldn't have to feel bad. In other words, I was attaching how I felt to how other people feel. And this is tricky. And when I personally mentor people, I take them through their strengths. I use the Clifton Strengths Finders test so I can help people see where they turn up a strength too loud and it becomes a kryptonite that works against them. And so I haven't tried to say this out loud before. So this is coming out a little raw and real, and I'm still finalizing it inside of my own nervous system because I've had to pull slivers out of me for the last 15 years. And some of those slivers had to do with emotions about other people and how I always felt responsible for other people's emotions. And the deepest level I'd gotten to before was my parents had taught me that if other people were upset, I needed to change until they felt better. And I had pulled that part of the sliver out. I had realized I can trust people to be able to handle their own emotions. And the hardest people it is to be able to trust that they can handle their own emotions is people that you're related to. Family members are the hardest people to let them have their own emotions. And so, this belief that I had gotten from my parents that if other people are upset, I need to change until they feel better. And some of you may have had this false belief instilled in you as well. And it's glued in place. It's glued in place by a shame belief. A shame belief will glue this in place. So, a shame belief is something like, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. People don't like me. I'm not, I'm not fill in the blank. That's a shame belief that glues these things in place. A shame belief will tip us back into our rut. It will get us to pull back there. Some of the things that will tip me back into my rut is my shame belief, my judgment of other people or judgment of myself. Not forgiving myself will also tip me in there. Um, Feeling jealous and resentful and rebellious. All of those things will tip me back into my rut of keeping my false belief, keeping the thing that will keep me in a trigger state. And somebody asked me today in a mentoring appointment, they said, what do you think God wants us to do on this planet? And I was like, wow, that's a big question because I've probably asked myself that 500 times in the last 24 hours. Because when I peeled back this belief, it is a whole bunch of freedom underneath. I have never gotten to a bottom core negative belief like this before. And underneath it feels a little unsteady because it's freedom underneath. And so I answered her and I said, I really believe that one of the main reasons God created this planet for us was so that we could be in charge of liberating our own nervous system. It's one of the main reasons that we're here. And it's why the planet pushes against our nervous system so much, is because when I can liberate my own nervous system, now I get to choose clarity and peace and stillness and groundedness and all those words that you guys said. Because here's what I realized I was doing. My children are struggling in different ways. And if you guys have kids, you probably can say the same thing that your kids are all struggling in different ways. My 420 something boys are not married. And so they're struggling in the dating scene, in the college scene, in choosing majors, in all different areas. Okay. They get to struggle through things. I struggled through all of those things myself. Um, it's a scary thing to commit to somebody and get married. It's a scary thing to reach out and ask somebody on a date. It's a scary thing to lock yourself into a major. All of those things are scary. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You guys have all had to do scary things. But the thing is that I realized I was doing is this trigger about me being in charge of making sure that people don't feel lonely. The way that was playing out is I'm worried about my boys not being married, so they'll be lonely. I'm worried about that. So I want to save them from their problems so that they won't feel lonely. And I realized the reason I was doing it was not so they wouldn't feel it. It was so that I could quit hurting about it. So this is deepest level thing here that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to come back up from the deep end. And that is that you have to check in. You have to check in and say, where am I trying to help somebody because I don't want to hurt for them anymore? Where is the reason that I'm trying to save someone is because my pain, I think, will go away when they don't hurt anymore. And this is why it's a problem. And this is why I found my sliver yesterday, was because your pain from their hurt is trying to teach you about you. You're not meant to save them from their pain so that you don't feel yours. You're meant to look at your pain and learn something about your own slivers, your own believed lies. Because in my belief system, God is truth. God is a God of truth. He's not a God of lies. But he created a planet where lies exist so that I can experience them, so that I can pull the slivers out of me and liberate my nervous system. So I can do that. I need to go through the experience of that. It's possible because of an atonement. It's possible because of this planet, but it's still my experience to have. My experience is my experience to have. So if I'm trying to save people from their emotions so that I don't have to hurt, I'm missing what my hurt is trying to teach me. So I took a big risk tonight. I shared something with you that's deeper, that it may have, um, it may just slide off your back because you're not ready to hear it. And that's totally fine. It's okay. But the thing is once you've heard something like this, your subconscious is going to remember it. And then when you hear it again and a third time and a fourth time, it's going to start to sink in and enlarge your capacity. Because once we can liberate our nervous system, now I get out of these ruts. And what can I do? I can act. I can take risks. I can, because the world is shutting down risk. It's like, oh, don't talk to people. Don't ask somebody on a date. Don't hold a door open for somebody. Don't do anything that would be any kind of a risk. So our nervous systems are being squashed into this small space of safety. Well, I don't agree. I believe that we need to be in a world where we create a bigger space of safety. by enlarging the capacity of our nervous system. And it's totally within our ability. And you guys, who I was 15 years ago, you haven't none of you know. And so this, you might not believe this because all you can see is who I am now. But who I was 15 years ago, I could not talk to anybody. I was afraid of everyone and I was always in trouble. And my family of origin kept me in that space. And I didn't take any risks. I played as small as I possibly could, and I truly believed that I was a lost cause. I truly believed that I could not go to heaven. I truly believed I was worthless and broken and irredeemable and unfixable, and that I couldn't be saved from that. I truly believed that to as deep as I could feel, because I didn't know how to get past it and get into the freedom that's underneath the lies that we cling to as armor. So, what lie are you clinging to as armor? And you might need some help finding it. I needed some help. I needed some help yesterday finding that because we're blinded. We're blinded to our own levels of lies. We become blind to them. But that doesn't mean we can't see them. It means that we keep looking away from them, and we need to know how to look at them. So I'm more hopeful and more excited than I've ever been because I'm feeling a new level of freedom, and I want that for everyone. But you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to take people's experiences away from them. Because this is one of the fights that AI and I had. I had three fights with AI today, different AI platforms and three different fights. Very fascinating. But one of the fights I had was I told AI, I said, here's the problem. You have information, but the thing you don't have is experience. And AI won't ever have experience, it will have information and it will make assumptions, and assumptions get us in trouble. What we have as human beings is the ability to get past assumptions and expectations and programming and be able to go through experiences and have those change us. And that is so valuable. I don't want my experiences taken away from me. I don't want that, even though a lot of them hurt. That, I mean, one of the reasons I found this program is I was in a wallow state. This is one of the things that we're talking about in my coaching right now is we're talking about how to allow and make space in our lives for what we actually want. And one of the things that will stop us is assumptions and judgments and expectations and wallowing, self-pity. I was wallowing in the fact that the who I was when I was raising my children was not who I am now. And so I made just so many mistakes. Oh, excruciating mistakes. A lot of them I didn't know I was making. In fact, none of them did I know I was making a mistake at the time. But I made so many mistakes, you guys. And so I was wallowing in the fact that I can't fix the mistakes. And that's when I knocked on the door. I didn't run from that feeling. I didn't point it outside of me. Because what do we usually do? When we feel bad, we want to have somebody share the bad with us. So we'll poke somebody, or we'll blame somebody, or we'll call somebody and say, oh, I'm feeling terrible, blah. So we love misery loves company is a saying for a reason. And so we'll go through this. And I didn't run from it. And so it knocked on the door of this belief, and I went, whoa, wait a second. I never looked at that belief that this way before. And I never had lined up the fact, I had never lined up the fact that my program about loneliness was deeply tied to my boys not having wives right now. That's the easiest way to say it. We continue to learn at every age and every stage. That's why we live for 100 years, is because we're not fruit flies. We need the experiences. So I will not take people's experiences away from them. But what I do know is that often we repeat the same pattern over and over and over and over and over because we don't know how to exit the cycle. We don't know how to exit the loop. And so, yes, I hope that you will use the self-directives and the safety check-in and breathing. But what I hope you'll do more is to be able to start looking at the believed lies, knowing that they will look noble. That was Craig's word, right? They will look noble. And and sometimes we need help to be able to see them. And so those of you who are coming to Break Free Intensive, I'm super excited about that because being able to see it in ourselves, sometimes we have to be able to see somebody else see it in themselves. We have to watch somebody else have a chance to uncover a belief. And so I wish I had a recording of what was going on inside of me at 5 o'clock yesterday when I found this belief. It was right after I left my daughter's house. And I wish I had a program. I'm not a video. I wish I had a video of what happened in there so that you could watch it all. But the reality is, when you come to Break Free Intensive, those of you that are coming in February, this is the kind of thing that we're going to go through, is how to change the lies, how to see the lies through their sheep clothing. That's tricky. That's where my experience plays out. So my belief that I need to save people from loneliness is just misguided because what my true calling in life has been is to be able to help people see through that sheep's clothing. This is what I've dedicated the last 15 years of my life to. Because as an engineer and as a neuroscience expert and as a body language expert and everything that I've studied, that's the only place that I want to apply it is to myself and to be able to help other people see and access more freedom in their life. So if you want more freedom in your life, tell me in the chat, say, I want freedom. Type those words so that your nervous system knows that you want them. Because it takes layers or slivers. I had to pull a lot of slivers out of me, and I'm still pulling slivers out. And um, so this was, I'll tell you, my last AI fight that I had today. I found an AI platform that will let you pick an AI um, personality of confrontational. And so I was like, okay, let's try confrontational on. So I picked the AI personality of confrontational and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do a webinar tonight because I wanted to see if I could. Well, let me back up. Abraham Lincoln is famously, there's a story about him that uh, somebody was challenging him on why he had people on his board as president of the United States that disagreed with him. And he said, if I can't defend my views to people that disagree with me, then I don't own my own views. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna check in with my views with this confrontational AI. And it was really fascinating because it didn't matter what I said, it would aggressively challenge me on it. And it was so cool to watch that my old ruts really wanted to come up. There was such a desire to go back into my rut of I'm being challenged, I'm being yelled at, and I was like, oh, I don't have to do that because I have a new openness. My nervous system capacity opened more. Well, it's opened every year in the last 15 years, but it opened up a huge new chunk yesterday. I'm so excited about it. Um, so I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the webinar, but um, you might have looked at the emails that I sent out. So everything I taught you today comes from Break Free Intensive and Breakthrough Coaching and my personal mentoring. So I said that I'm going to award 3 scholarships tonight for Break Free Intensive. Now, to apply, you're going to have to find the Q&A button on your Zoom. Um, so you'll need to be on Zoom, not YouTube right now, if you want to apply for one of these scholarships. But let me qualify it a little bit for you so you know whether or not to apply. What you're going to do is you're going to find the Q&A tab. I'll put it like that, Q&A tab. And you're going to put your full name in there if you want to apply for a scholarship. However, there's 2 things to consider. One is I want you to look at this link for Break Free Intensive and make sure that you can come. It's on February 6th and 7th in Salt Lake City. If you're like, oh, yeah, I want to come, and then you're like, oh, but my sister's getting married that day, well, then don't apply for the scholarship. Leave it for somebody who can come those days because you want to be there both days. In that class, in Break Free Intensive, on the first day, well, on both days, we're going to have people up on stage and you're going to see me work with them and mentor them and help them have eyes to see through the sheep's clothing to the wolf that's underneath. Because once we can see that it's a wolf, then we can get it out of our lives. But as long as we still think it's a sheep, we defend it. We defend those negative programs in our lives. So if you can come, that's the first thing. The second thing is this. I'm awarding 3 scholarships for Break Free Intensive, but I'm also going to award 3 other scholarships. And what those are is whoops, that's the one we just looked at. Those are 3 scholarships for a one-on-one appointment with me. And those are going to be chosen from the people who register for Break Free Intensive tonight. To register, you go to 3ke.to/BFI, and Adam will put it in the chat for us so you can click on the link there. Because you're on the webinar tonight, I have a discount code for you that will take $100 off your ticket. Now, if you are one of the ones that register, you can be chosen to get the bonus appointment with me. Now, a bonus one-on-one appointment with me, we used to have a link where you could just purchase a one-on-one appointment with me, and it was $400, way more than the ticket to come to Break Free Intensive. So if you would rather be chosen for the one-on-one appointment with me, do not put your name in the Q&A for the scholarship because those who win the tickets to Break Free Intensive will not be in the drawing for the one-on-one appointment with me. Did I make that clear? So yes, February 6th and 7th. All the information is in that link that Adam just put in the chat. So if you would rather be in the running for one of the scholarships for a personal mentoring appointment with me, do not put your name in the scholarship. Okay? But if you would like to be one of the people that is considered for a scholarship for Break Free Intensive, put your name in the Q&A. Okay? So those are the 2 things to consider right there is if you can come and if you and whether you would rather have a one-on-one appointment. Then the last thing is this. If you are already registered for Break Free Intensive and you are chosen for a scholarship, then what you would do is bring somebody with you to Break Free Intensive. Okay? So it doesn't replace if you've already registered for Break Free Intensive, it doesn't replace that. But if you are chosen, then you would get to bring somebody with you. Does that make sense? I love it. Any questions about that? Any questions? Okay, got it? Yay. All right, so let's pick the people who are going to get scholarships to come to Break Free Intensive in February. Let's see if I can open this window. Okay, hang on. I have to ask Adam to help me with this. I need two eyes on here. Okay, he's going to help me that. Oh, and then here is the screen. Thank you for your great questions. Lynn says, I'm already coming. Who's going to join me? I love it. Okay, so Janae, are you trying to put your name in the Q&A? So Lori, the scholarship for the one-on-ones are going to be chosen from those who register for Break Free Intensive tonight. So if you're all, so let me, one more question that just came through. So let me answer this one. If you're already registered for Break Free Intensive, but you would like to be chosen for the one-on-one appointment with me, just this is my strategy side coming out. If it were me, I would purchase another ticket and then I would bring somebody with me, but I would keep the one-on-one appointment for myself. That's what I would do because I'm a high strategy person. So that's what I would do. Okay. Okay. So Adam, can you find the Q&A button? Well, I can probably, yes, here's the promo code is unstuck right there. All right, Adam, did you get my message? Can you help me with that? And then I need to find a way to add Janae to the Q&A list. Um, if Janae, if you can't find the Q&A button, it's next to the raise the hand button on a PC. If you're on your phone, it's on that same bar. Oh, there you got it. You got it. Good job. Okay, she found it. Yay! All right, so is everybody entered that wants to enter? Okay, and then Adam is feverishly helping us in the background. Thank you for your patience. Okay, excellent. All right, so a few more seconds. Okay, Lori. Yeah, Break Free Intensive is a lot of people's favorite class for sure. Thanks you everybody for your comments about it in the chat. I appreciate that. I don't understand your question, Lori. Um, if you're asking about where the venue is, as soon as you register, if you're one of the people who wins the scholarship tonight, I think by tomorrow we will get an email out to you, and that email will have the location so that you can look for a hotel. I love it. All right, Adam, do we have those yet? And then what I'm going to do, okay, we have a couple of last second entries. Good. All right, so our first scholarship winner, so I'll put this promo code on the other screen so that you guys can see it on both screens. There you go. So our first winner, and I'll put their name right over here. Our first winner, let me find the number here. Okay, our first winner is Jonda Perper. Jonda. So I'll put your name right there. Okay, so Jonda's our first winner. Are you here? Yay, she's here. All right, Jonda, can you be there on February 6th and 7th? So we want to make sure you can, and she's here. Yay. All right, we found her. Congratulations, Jonda. Okay, so can you raise your hand So, oh, there it is. I just didn't have it. There we go. There we are. Okay, so Jonda, tell us why you want to come to Break for Intensive. Can you find your unmute button? There you go.
I'm at volleyball game or
Nice.
practice.
So tell me, why do you want to come to Break for Intensive?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, I'm gonna make it.
Great. Why do you want to come?
I sorry, I'm at the volleyball practices. They're really literally loud. Hard to hear you.
We can hear you just fine.
So ask the question again.
Why do you want to come?
Oh, because I love them. I've been to a few and I really love it. It's really fun how you work with people up on the stage, and I want to be worked on the stage.
I love it. All right. Congratulations, Jonda. So happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Oh, wrong button. Adam, you better push the buttons. There we go. Yeah, Adam can push the right buttons. All right, cool. All right. So the next person is um okay, I'm spinning my little dial here and then I have to count through the the names here. Okay. All right, Sherry, I just took you out. Thank you for letting me know. She's like, I can't come. You better take me out. All right, so let me count the numbers again. Okay, the next one is Diane Sorensen. Diane Sorensen, congratulations. All right, Diane, can you raise your hand? So I can find you. There she is. Okay, Diane.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm really excited.
Congratulations.
I have a lot that I need to work on, and I feel like you said that if you see how people work through it, that it helps you to work through it. Um, I'll just tell you, I told the universe, if it's right for me to go right now, then please help me to go. And there you go. Here it is.
I love it. That's beautiful. Congratulations, Diane.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for the scholarship.
My pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in 3 weeks.
I look forward to seeing you and
Yay.
everyone and everyone.
And I want everybody that comes, I hope I get a hug from everybody. But if you're not a hugger, that's okay. We can do a high five. Okay? Oh, I love that. Mary says, "Hey, those are my cousins. They're coming." Yay. I love it. Congratulations, Diane. Okay, let's do our next one. Our next scholarship is going to go to um, our next scholarship. There's my number. Okay, 1, 2. Rebecca Fenton. Rebecca Fenton. Congratulations, Rebecca. Let's see. Rebecca with an K. Rebecca. All right, Rebecca.
I am so excited about this. We're all cheering at my house.
Ray, I'm so glad. How come?
Um, well, I am just really just resonating with the things that you're teaching, and to be able to see this in person is going to be amazing. I have a dear friend who's been there before and had an amazing experience she was telling me about today. And she wanted to make sure I was on tonight for this. And I've been thinking about these lies, and I feel like I'm like having a direction of where to look to maybe see what some of those are. And I think this would be really helpful for that. So I'm thrilled. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I can't wait to meet you in person, Rebecca. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And give everybody that's cheering at your house a high five for me, okay?
Okay.
I love it. Congratulations. All right. There we have our three winners, our three winners. So now if you want to be considered for one of the bonus one-on-one appointments with me, now you would go in and register for the webinar, and you can use the promo code. And then we're going to choose three people out of those people that register. All right. And Adam needs a minute. Adam needs a minute to look for those names for me so we can see who gets those appointments. So in the meantime, I think I should probably give one more ticket away. What do you think? All right. So, oh, I see what that. Oh, okay. So you're nominating someone else. All right. I see that. Okay. So we're going to get one more out. Is that okay? Should we get one more out? So the one we're going to give out is going to go to 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got to take Rebecca off of here. She's already won. And so our next, the bonus one is going to go to Crystal Conklin. Crystal. All right, Crystal, here we go. We're going to add, somebody's going to go, wait, that's not 3. I know. Crystal. Crystal, congratulations. Raise your hand if you're here, Crystal. There she is. All right, Crystal, tell me why you want to come to Break Free Intensive.
Because the last one I went to was amazing. That was my first one, was your first one since COVID, I guess. And
Right.
it was just fantastic. And I'm so looking forward to continuing this education and learning how to find these sheeps or wolves in sheep's clothing. I'm
I
so
love it.
excited. Thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait to see you, Crystal. It'll be awesome. I got a hug last time, so make sure you give me a hug this time, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, so here's what we're gonna do because I have two problems. We're way over time, and that I promised that I wouldn't go way over time tonight. So if you have questions, I'm going to have you text this number right here. And what you're going to do is, those of you that register tonight, we're going to pick 3 scholarships out of there. What I'm going to do is the first 3 people that register, I'm going to message you personally tonight, and I will send you the link to be able to sign up for that mentoring appointment with me. Is that cool? All right, we'll do that. I also promised you that I would give you the webinar replay for the last webinar. So let's let's do it right here. So here, this is my personal cell phone number. So my personal cell phone number. So you text me, I will answer you tonight. So it's not somebody else, it'll be me. And then what I'm going to do is give you the replay link, and hopefully Adam will tell me if I get it wrong. This is the replay for January, the January 3rd replay. Okay, so there's the replay that I promised you right there. And I will stay on for just a few minutes if anybody has any questions. And then I'm going to text the first 3 people that registered tonight and give you the link for your appointment. Are you excited? I'm so excited to meet with you, some of you, one-on-one. All right, so this right here, you can register for Break Free Intensive. This is your code Unstuck. And that will work if you want to register you or if you want to register two of you. There's an option either way. All right, and if you have any questions, you text me right here or ask in the chat, and I'll stay on for just a few minutes. So remember that what we're doing is we're finding those sheep that are in, or those wolves that are in sheep's clothing. We got to find those because they are closing down our nervous system and they are taking away our freedom. And I don't want that for anyone because I got a taste of what freedom feels like and I want everybody there. I want everybody there. So your confidence is a nervous system state, and we don't want it closed down. So we got to do the things that are going to help us improve our nervous system tone. So thank you for being here tonight, you guys. I love you. You matter. You're making a difference. And every person that accesses more freedom in their nervous system sends that message out to our world and helps all of us to access more freedom because that's the way the world works. The way the world works is the opposition has amped up, but that means because there's always opposition in all things, that the light also has to ramp up. So I'm excited for you to be part of that light that is increasing in the world along with me. I love you. Thank you for being tonight and share this with somebody that needs to hear it. You guys are awesome.